We immediately after moving here, we had a government inspection by the New South Wales Department of Education, and the inspectors got out of the car and it was wet. We'd had a weekend of rain, it was mud everywhere, and they said, well, where's the school? And fortunately we had a scale model that our architect Robin Mackay had prepared, and I was able to explain to them what our hopes were. The inspectors didn't know at the time that the electricity that we were using was powered by a very large industrial generator across on the building site, which died halfway through the day, and one of our students, Damien Barrett, had to run across and restart it so that we could kid them that we actually had electric power connected.
I remember going up in a crop duster plane that Michael arranged to take some aerial photos of the site, and it was a tiny little thing with no door on the side. There was only a seatbelt between me and space, and took some photos. There's one typical one in the memorial wing that's just been opened that shows the caribou that the RAF base sent up. As soon as they saw us in this restricted area, the caribou came up and circled us the whole time to make sure we weren't up to no good.
We would take cooking classes and we would go to his house, and I'm sure it would never have passed occupational health and safety these days, but we'd go and he'd have the wok. He was pretty amazing, radical cook for the 80s, and he'd be cooking Thai and he'd be cooking things that we honestly had not been exposed to really in those instances, and be talking to us about the culture and about this and about that.
In those early days too, we had classes in the back of the headmaster's house, again down in Taylor Road there, and I have vivid memories of teaching senior maths classes with a chalkboard precariously balanced above the taps on the kitchen sink, and trying to maintain some sort of order and discipline and actually get the job done in this makeshift classroom.
Ruby came down one day when she was principal, and she had obtained the first government grant that the school had ever had, and that was to build a library. And that was an exciting vision, because you can imagine the school community's reception of the idea that we build it in mud brick. So, there was an awful lot of teasing, and everybody thought the whole thing would melt away the first day it rained.
Most students had never heard of Latin and didn't really know what it was, and they came to accept that learning a language was part of St Paul's, and it did gradually become an acceptance of that, whatever language it was.
I remember Kerry and I lived in the house down at the gate, which is no longer there. It's the Pre-K Learning Centre now. But when we lived there, it was the only building on the site. And I was wakened up one morning about 2:30 with the sound of footsteps walking up our gravel driveway. And a couple of fellows arrived. They'd come in to collect the garbage with the garbage truck, but they didn't realise that we had a septic tank, and they backed the garbage truck into the septic tank. And so I had to entertain them for several hours while we got first a tow truck and then a crane to get the garbage truck out of the septic tank, and then get a cover on the septic tank before the students arrived the next day. So they're the sorts of seminal things that you think about when you look back to the early days of the school, but they're not the important bits. They're the humorous moments.